Portfolio Composer, episode 177.
You're listening to the Portfolio Composer podcast with your host and coach Garrett Hope, where he teaches you what it takes to master the business end of writing music through mindset, marketing, and business skills. Make sure to sign up for the newsletter at theportfoliocomposer.com for exclusive offers, business insights, and information not shared on the podcast. And now, for this episode of the Portfolio Composer.
In dealing with rejection and also confidence, because like I was saying earlier, as an undergrad, I really thought that my worth as a composer was slightly based on winning things, which is unfortunate because like I look back and I was like, wow, like actually, for my senior recital, like all of the comp faculty showed up. That should mean something. No, I was focused on competitions, winning, actually focused more on not winning. And I would still apply to competitions and I still did in graduate school. But then while in graduate school, my 30th birthday was coming up. And that's usually the age where you are no longer a young composer, but now an emerging composer, whatever those words mean, which, as I'm sure you'd probably agree with me, just basing it on age is kind of stupid.
Hello and welcome to this episode of The Portfolio Composer. I am your host, your coach, your teacher, Garrett Hope. And I'm so excited that you're taking the time to listen to this podcast and to be on your journey as a creative individual. I receive emails from listeners all the time telling me about what they're doing, asking questions, and just generally showing how they're moving forward. And that lights me up. I get so excited, and it's really why I'm doing this. And so if you are taking action, no matter what that looks like, but you're just one step at a time, every day, improving your composition business, I want to know about it. Send me an email, and you can do that through the contact page at portfoliocomposer.com. But this podcast exists to help you grow your career, and it's really a series of interviews with composers, authors, teachers, performers, anyone who can help us understand what it means to be a composer in the 21st century and how we can apply lessons from entrepreneurship and business ownership into our lives as creative individuals. And today is no exception. I'm very pleased to introduce you to the one and only Jennifer Jolley. Welcome, Jennifer.
Wow, thanks for having me here. I am so thrilled.
Yeah, probably not as excited as I am. Jennifer is a composer, a blogger, professor person, probably best known for her composer fail blog, Why Compose When You Can Blog, where she posts her rejection letters online. Jennifer actually does write choral, orchestral, wind ensemble, chamber, and electronic works. She has been commissioned by ensembles and institutions across the United States and currently teaches at Ohio Wesleyan University. Why don't we start by getting to know you a little bit better? Tell us a little bit more about your origin story.
I started composing mostly in high school. I didn't think I had any original ideas, and I didn't think I could be a composer, especially because as a former pianist, I thought that all composers were dead white dudes. And the most contemporary thing was Ravel, maybe, until I switched over to my high school teacher. And I just didn't know. Like, I thought that composers already wrote all the music. So we had enough music. I don't know what I was thinking. So, but then I got really into film music because I liked going to movies. I'm originally from Los Angeles, and I figured as long as my music was in the background, I could probably do something like that. And also when I was in high school, I did this program with the LA Opera. They had a performance of Fantastic Mr. Fox. I think that's Tobias Pickler's opera. And they had a little workshop where kids came in and wrote music to accompany the Fantastic Mr. Fox story. So I did a little bit, and then I was like, oh, I could probably do this. And so then I decided to major in music composition with a film scoring emphasis at USC in Southern California.
Of course. I'm interested in your comment about lacking original ideas. Is that strictly related to the fact that you thought that the music just existed, that it was always there and didn't need more of it?
Yeah, I don't know, but when I look back to what I did as a young pianist, well, first of all, I wasn't great, or I didn't have enough discipline to practice for long periods of time, which I actually think is one thing we composers have in common, or a lot of us composers were like, yeah, practicing, or we would noodle a bit, and I would always noodle. I would always add notes or phrases to what I was already practicing, but I didn't think that was actually composing music. So I'd be like, Beethoven's so boring. I could totally add notes to jazz this up. I could totally do this better. Of course, now I know the better. I don't compose better than Beethoven. Granted, we're both different composers of different time periods and countries, all of that. Beethoven's awesome. But I always added stuff to music. And my Korean mother, bless her, was like, I think you're fake practicing piano. I'm like, what are you talking about? I'm totally practicing piano. She's like, I think you're faking it. So maybe my mom knew. Maybe I should have been like, well, I'm actually real-time composing, Mom, which I guess means that I wouldn't be practicing piano. So I guess I would have lost that argument either way. But, you know.
I want to know what that mental jump was for you in learning that your ideas had merit. I mean, your mom's accusing you of fake practicing and you're saying, okay, Beethoven, do this instead. A little bit like Salieri in Amadeus. So how did you come to value your own musical opinion?
Oh, goodness. It took a long time. It really did. I think that probably at first when I was young, like a high schooler, maybe earlier, like early college composer, if it sounded similar-ish, but not exactly like a piece of music that I liked, or a piece of music that I was exposed to, maybe thought should be liking, and I know should is a little bit of a strong word, but sounded similar enough but different, it was kind of okay. But with regard to when I was comfortable with my ideas, I mean, I'm thinking maybe my late 20s. I don't know. I was just not a very confident young composer, which I hope, I have students now that I teach, and I'm trying to nurture confidence, especially to my women in my studio. And maybe I'm just projecting here, but I wish I had a little bit more confidence so I could be writing, so that I would have written more music. Although I think I'm turning out okay, but yeah, I wouldn't say that I really liked or felt really confident about my music until grad school.
Oh, interesting.
That's just me.
Well, I'm a little bit similar, I didn't.
Yeah.
It takes a long time before you feel like you've got a voice where you can say things clearly, I think.
Right? Yeah. No, I agree with that. Oh, man.
So you're at USC, you're doing the film program, and then you turned a corner.
Yeah, I actually switched and turned that corner while I was an undergrad.
Okay.
I was able to get a little internship or assistant thing to the film composer Rolf Kent back in the day. And I was able to, besides, run errands for him and actually ship CDs back to his family since he's from the UK. So I would ship his music, go to the post office and stuff like that. I was able to go to some spotting sessions and lay down tracks and kind of see the practical aspect of doing film composing. And I remember going to one of these spotting sessions, which is where the director says, hey, composer, so here's my film, here's my rough cut. Here's the type of music I might be interested in. And it was for film that screened, and I don't remember the film. I actually doubt it was released. And I think the director got some bad feedback from their test audience. And I remember sitting there. It was a little awkward. He was going over the temp track. And I remember that the film An American Beauty was really big back then. I think all these directors are like, oh my goodness, what's that sound? And we're all like, that's a marimba. Cool, right? And he's like, I want this guy to sound cool. I want it to sound like this. And as a high schooler, I was under the impression, which is still a true impression, that when John Williams wrote Star Wars, he got he got a lot of creative control, and I wasn't seeing a lot of creative control with that. And I was kind of like, okay, I don't really have very many original ideas, but I have some that I kind of like, which is an improvement. But I don't know if I want to write music exactly like someone, and I'd like to have a participatory process. Like I want to have some skin in the game, some input to create something together in a way where it's like, I would love to have the relationship that like a director would trust me and we talk stuff over and try to figure out the characters together and, maybe figure out a leitmotif, because again, remember Star Wars was re-released when I was in high school. So I was like, Star Wars, it's kind of an amazing film score. Mm-hmm. So I was just kind of disappointed by that experience. So I was like, well, maybe I should focus on concert music and, I should get to know directors. And even to this day, like if someone were to ask me to write a score, I'd be totally for it as long as like we could create something artistic together. But that was kind of my story. I also remember that when I made this decision, it was actually in 2001. And this is like right after September 11th happened. But this is something I've been thinking about for a few months, and it was my junior year. And I was studying with Frank Ticelli at the time, and I was like, I think I want to be a concert music composer. And he's like, why don't you wait on that decision? Like, you shouldn't make any rash decisions. We've all been going through a lot lately. And I'm like, okay, but I still think I don't necessarily want to go to the film music track. Like, I just wanted to like focus on concert music or figure out like my own story and my own thing at that moment.
Interesting. And so you felt that the limited collaboration that sometimes happens in film music was a little too constraining?
A little bit. I mean, if you would have asked me that perception, like while I was in high school, I'd be like, no, I need a director to tell me exactly what to do. I'll totally do it. And now I'm like, I would like to try some out and have a little bit more creative freedom.
Okay. And then grad school and more grad school and then a teaching position. And you're writing the whole time, but you're focused on concert music.
Yeah. Mostly, yeah. I mean, I did have a little stint in Vermont. Like I took some time off in Vermont, which is a place that's completely different than Los Angeles, which is good for me. I didn't do much writing, but I worked for a new music ensemble, the Vermont Contemporary Music Ensemble, or VCME, and worked at a Waldorf school. So I taught some kids who I still am in touch with thanks to social media. They're just like in their mid-20s. And I'm like, all right, that totally happened. Time happens. But yeah, I went to grad school, was still writing concert music, kind of doing my own thing and just trying to work hard and trying to get my pieces performed. Because, you learn a lot that way. Also, like, that's where the fun is, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, just doing those things.
What has been some of the challenges as you've built your composition career in getting people to play your music? Because that is the big hurdle. We getting the opportunity to write a piece of music is actually relatively easy. Mm-hmm. It's the second performance, the third performance, getting people to buy your scores. What have you learned to make that happen?
Okay. So back to my story about I just wasn't very confident. I noticed that in hindsight, that I had a very, very hard time in getting performers to play my music when I was not very confident. I would be like, hey, cellist, I kind of wrote this piece, and I think it's pretty good. Can you play on this recital? It's next Saturday, or like 2 weeks. It's 2 weeks from now, and but if you can't do it, that's totally fine. Like, that's fine. Like, I would be so apologetic in trying to get performers to play my music in regards to I wasn't selling myself because I had no confidence. So I feel like the more confidence I've achieved or that I've obtained, I feel like I'm a little bit more confident in approaching players. I still don't really cold call players though, so I probably need more confidence and I have to figure out how to do that. But I figured out like the way to help out with that for myself is to just go to lots of concerts and be genuine and, support them too. So I would say that you need to meet people. That's pretty hard to do. So I have to like tell my introverted self that I'm going to meet people tonight, and I'm going to meet really cool, awesome people who want to create music just like me, and go meet with them and talk with them and hang with them. But I don't necessarily anticipate that they will ask me about my music right away, but I would like to develop a friendship there. But I would say that the confidence thing was definitely a factor in the past of getting other people to play my music.
I love that. I kind of want to dig into ways we can, specific things we can do to increase our confidence. But it seems like as you were going to these I can't even talk. As you were going to concerts, you were using like an affirmation technique to get yourself in the right mindset. If I heard you right, you literally just said, I would say to myself, I'm going to meet cool people tonight. And you wouldn't have the expectation necessarily of reciprocation, but is building relationships. And did you really like use an affirmation style technique to get yourself in the right frame of mind?
I don't know necessarily affirmation. I did have to psych myself up and saying like, I have to talk to new people because it's just how I operate. I was actually telling a student at Interlochen, I was having a piece performed by the World Youth Wind Ensemble. And this is actually a very quiet student. And I just told her in passing, because I don't necessarily want to tell my students like, hey, by the way, I have a piece being performed tonight. Like there's still like people, I mean, they're not quite adults at Interlochen, but you know, they should still have that agency of going to concerts, but they should go to concerts, if you know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
And I said, yeah, there's a concert. And I specifically told her what I was going to do to prep for this concert. I said, yep, after I'm done teaching you, which is going to be at 5 p.m., I'm going to not talk to anybody. I might grab a banana from Stone Cafeteria, but I'm probably not going to eat anything, and I'm just going to hang out in my cabin and probably steam my outfit that's not, well, actually, I think I had to wear my Interlochen outfit. That sucked, but that's what it is. But I said, like, I had to, like, talk to myself and figure out what I was going to say in front of the audience. I said, there are some very important people here, not just the new president of Interlochen, but a lot of band directors were coming to this specific concert. So I have to rehearse that, and I'm going to chill out and have some me time and know that afterwards I'm going to be socializing with like a whole bunch of people and a whole bunch of band directors. And I told her that because she's just very quiet, and I wanted to be like, you can be a composer. You don't necessarily have to be center of attention all the time. Well, especially if you're a composer, you're not necessarily going to be center of attention all the time, but I'm telling myself that, yes, I got this. Well, okay, yeah, that's my affirmation right there. I got this.
Yeah, that's one of them. One of the affirmations I've used a lot is, today I'm going to meet the right people to help me get to where I need to be. Just this belief, like if you, and I'm not into like woo-woo science, metaphysical stuff, but if you preset your frame of mind for opportunities and confidence, I think it really works.
Oh, I do too. I also use like that superhero stance.
Yes.
I saw that on a TED Talk. I was like, I will do whatever works. I don't care if it's like scientifically disproven. If it works for me, which it does, I will do it.
Yeah.
So I like that. Yeah.
Let's talk about some more specific techniques. So composers who need to get a little bit of a kick of confidence, they can use some affirmative self-talk. They can do the Superman stance, which is shoulders back, chest out, feet apart, hands on the hips. You right?
Mm-hmm.
What other things do you do?
I hope that a friend is going with me. So actually, back to this Interlochen experience, my friend Andrew Martin Smith, he also teaches at Interlochen, a fellow composer. Well, we hang out a lot because like we're teaching these kids for 6 weeks and we're wearing the same thing. So, I mean, if that's bonding, that's bonding. But I asked him to come to the hang with me. I was like, I'm allowed to bring a guest. You're my guest. And he's a good friend of mine. So knowing someone, I think, helps. So if you're going in cold, I don't know what to tell you. Like, someone asked me, like, what if you know nobody in the room? And I'm like, be right back. I will try to figure out a solution to that. But I think it's good to have one friend there, or a trusted friend, or someone you know. And I actually think that's where social media helps, because I remember when I went to my first new music gathering, which was in Baltimore. It wasn't their first new music gathering, but It was the first time I was meeting people in real life, and I felt like I could instantly talk to everyone and have a normal, natural, lovely conversation with people because I've been having these social media conversations in the past. So that's my personal strategy, is have someone there or virtually know, because turns out in real life they're actually better in person. So and that's always great.
Yes, I found that to be true too. About 99% of the time.
Yes.
There's always the one person.
Yeah, I agree with that. So, but and if you run into that person, don't be that person. I think that's the best advice there.
Have you ever wanted to throw in the towel as you've been building your career?
No. I think that's kind of like an all or nothing approach. I will tell you this. I have been wanting to make tweaks, which I think is important, in any field. Like after a few years, see what's working, see what's not working. There have definitely been times of frustration, but usually when I have times of frustration, I would do something differently, or tell you what, we can take an example of competitions, because jokingly, it's now it's a big joke that everybody on the internet knows, I don't actually do very well with composer competitions. And I actually used to apply to a lot more of them when I was younger. That probably didn't help with my confidence whatsoever as an undergrad, like not winning anything. And I remember a friend of mine won the BMI Composer Award, and I'm like, what? Okay, but I'm good too. We're in the same class, right? I should win this. And how come I'm not? And just constantly getting rejected by these things. And so over my lifetime, I wouldn't say that I threw in the towel, but maybe I just don't apply to composer competitions as much. Maybe I threw in the towel there.
I've almost given up entirely.
Yeah, because it's so hard. So I've put my focus elsewhere. Like I focus on trying to get performances, because like ultimately as a composer, I just want to be able to write my music and write my music well, as best as I can, and have it performed, and ideally performed more than once, because the second performance is always the hardest, I feel, to obtain. So if I apply for things, it's because maybe a former professor encouraged me to apply, or I actually got an invitation for something where they only solicited people to apply for it. So I was like, oh, well, I guess they've stalked me on the internet enough, which is, not a bad thing. And they asked me to apply, and then they sent me a rejection letter. And I'm like, well, I tried. Also, it didn't take long. I can think also with like competitions where they're like, hey, can you scroll into like the B section of your music, but only have like a 30-second segment, and it has to be like an MP3 file, but you have to like mail your score. I say instantly nope to those competitions. So it's like, how much time do I have? How much energy do I have? And I'm just like a little bit more savvy with it. Like I remember once a choral director was, I forget what he was trying to get us to sing per se, but his analogy was the Williams sisters in tennis, where it's like when they first were there, they were like, rawr, and they were like hitting all the things. But when they got older and a little bit more injured, they had to be a little bit more sophisticated about it. So I'm like, I would like to think that I'm in the sophisticated, classy stage where I was like, I don't have time for some of these. But truly, I don't have time for some of these. So it's fine.
Right. Well, you do have to pick and choose. And then there's the whole issue on whether you're going to pay an entrance fee or not. All of that. Now, you do something pretty cool with your pile of rejection letters. Tell us about that.
So in dealing with rejection and also confidence, because like I was saying earlier, as an undergrad, I really thought that my worth as a composer was slightly based on winning things, which is unfortunate, because like I look back and I was like, wow, like actually, for my senior recital, like all of the comp faculty showed up. That should mean something. No, I was focused on competitions, winning, actually focused more on not winning. And I would still apply to competitions, and I still did in graduate school. But then while in graduate school, my 30th birthday was coming up. And, that's usually the age where you are no longer a young composer, but now an emerging composer, whatever those words mean, which, as I'm sure you'd probably agree with me, just basing it on age is kind of stupid.
Yes.
But at the same time, I was hitting up against that, and I was like, this is my last year to win like the elusive student composer awards. And I said, screw it. I'm going to apply to everything. And I'm going to post my rejection letters online. And part of the reason why I did this was for therapy, probably. It was like a way, I was like, your student stipend, your student health insurance, like you're not going to be able to talk to somebody professionally about your crippling failure of like 30 or bust. But there was a time actually when I was an undergraduate when I used to get rejection letters like via paper, which I actually did recently receive a paper rejection, which I had to take a picture of, and it needs to eventually go on the blog here. But I thought maybe I'd make them pretty and scrapbook it. My roommate in college is not only a pretty good horn player, but also a scrapbooking queen. So she like lent me her acid-free paper and some tape. And I also learned I wasn't very good at scrapbooking. I was like, this looks okay. But anyways, I was like, well, I'm terrible at scrapbooking, but there is the internet. And then at the same time, I was like, I needed to add content on my website because like as a performer, you can like put more things on your website. Like here's some performances. Here are some things I'm doing with my orchestra or wind ensemble. And here's a solo recital, or here I'm playing with friends. You can't like the turnaround for composers is like not as frequent because it does take us longer to write music. So I was like, I kind of need content on my website. So why don't I just like my 29th year, I will apply to all the things and post rejection letters because chances are I'm going to get rejection letters for all of them. And so that's where it started as like catharsis, but also content for my blog. And it kind of took off. I didn't think it would. I was just like, I'm being silly. I'm saying, screw you, internets. I'm going to post my rejection letters. But it's obtained an interesting following. I just didn't think it would, but I think that's something we all relate to because there's only like 10 winners, right? So yeah. Everybody else.
Seriously.
Like, yeah, for real.
Wow. And so where can we go to read this? Because I rejection letters are some of the worst letters, not just like psychologically damaging. That hurts, but they're just poorly written.
They are. So personally, I have the website whycompose.com because in another way of making fun of myself, I was like, I'm in graduate school. I have to bust out a master's recital in 2 years. And I'm finding a lot of glee in screen shooting my emails and posting them online. And so I thought I should be writing music. So, but why write music when you can blog about your rejection letters? That's basically it. So it's whycompose.com.
I love that. That's really cool. Tell us one of your favorite rejection letters. Is that an oxymoron?
No, because some of them I like more than others. I actually blogged about kind of my favorite one, or the one that I talk about the most. So I'm not going to name names because I actually did apply for this thing again, although they're probably going to reject me. Like, I just don't think I'm going to get on their radar unless, like, I don't know, maybe never, but that's okay. But anyways, the rejection letter said I did not get selected for something in musical composition, which is our fields, but they misspelled musical. And I was like, did I misread that? Is there a typo in this rejection letter? So I may have like circled the word musical. It was not spelled correctly. And I just posted it. I didn't make a comment as to that the word musical was misspelled, but it was misspelled. And I just like put it out there like, boop, here it is. And then I received recently, a few months ago, the same rejection letter. And I may have on my blog said that they spelled musical correctly this time.
Oh,
so
they're paying attention.
I might get rejected again, but at this rate, I'm like, it's more fodder for my blog because I don't have time to write an actual blog with like actual insight into anything particularly interesting in my field. But I can like do a quick screenshot and comment.
Well, I kind of want to ask you, I mean, you're applying to these things and you did a whole slew in your 29th year, like you said. And it seems like something you're still doing, even though you don't win a lot. So what's the value? Like, why would a composer apply to these things? They're expensive, they're time consuming, and sometimes we don't even get any money with it. Like, we can't pay the bills. So why do you keep doing it?
Well, for me personally, I keep doing it because I rationalize I might still get a different in to getting a performance or an opportunity that I wouldn't get by going to a concert or getting to meet people, because there are lots of performers. I haven't met every single one of them. And it's like literally impossible for me to do so. But maybe on the off chance, based on time and cost and resources, et cetera, maybe this could be an in for a new ensemble instead of, let's say, cold calling. Like, I'm not into cold calling people. I think it epically fails. They're like, who are you? And I'd be like, yeah, I don't know who I am either. Well, I would have said that in my 20s, but now I'm like, oh, I know who I am, but rather, go to the bar with my friends and talk about future projects there or something like that. So I would say in the off chance of having another performance, in the off chance of meeting new people that I can't just hang out with, like get in my car and hang out with them. Yeah. That's it. For young composers, they don't know as many people. They're still trying to figure out what works for them. So I do advise them to apply to competitions with the caveat that if you want me to help you with the competition, I'll do my best, but I'm kind of known for not winning anything. So good luck with that. But I'll make your score look pretty and I'll make sure you write a good piece of music. But they just need to figure out what works for them. And so now I am like 36, I'm almost 37. I know that applying to a gazillion competitions doesn't necessarily work for me, but provides fodder for my blog. So that's cool, but it doesn't work as well. But my success is through meeting new people and establishing connections and partnerships. So I would say the reason why I still apply is because maybe something may happen, but I'm not going to get all bent out of shape about it.
Right. Well, one of the things that I think that you're doing really well by continuing this process is it's one way to keep your name in front of these groups that are performing and commissioning new music.
Oh, that's right. Yes.
Even if you don't win the award, your name keeps coming up. And eventually what happens is people start talking. And this has happened to me, but I think you're doing this on a level like way beyond what I'm doing in terms of reaching out for competitions. So this is a way for, they might not choose your piece this year, but they'll say, okay, remember that Jennifer Jolley and the piece she wrote? It wasn't a good fit for that program, but this piece could be a good fit for the next program, or we like her style. It's top of mind is what we say in the business world. You need to stay top of mind, and you're doing that.
Well, thanks. Yeah, I also thought maybe the reason was because they're like, oh no, we're going to make her fail blog. But I like your guess better than mine. But you're right. Well,
if a competition is afraid to end up on your fail blog, I think they're doing something wrong.
Yeah, I agreed. I'm just being silly.
Yeah. Hey, I want to reach back to something you'd said a long time ago, and you were talking about Andrew Martin Smith, your friend.
Yes.
And I know that Andrew and his wife have started a kind of cooperative self-publishing business called Adjective New Music, and you are really active in that. Can we spend some time to talk about self-publishing, what that co-op means for you, and what are some steps composers can do? Is that cool?
Yes, absolutely. Love to talk about this.
Talk to me about Adjective New Music.
So Adjective New Music, I believe, started with Andrew and Jamie, and then their friend DJ. I think that's his name. And it was originally like a self-publishing thing for them. They also produced concerts. So Andrew and Jamie used to live in the Toledo area, and they would do Adjective sponsored concerts, partnerships, and they'd have like composers either submit things. I think they also did like a whole Shostakovich festival. Like they just wanted to build new music in the community, which I thought was great. Here, example of one of the things that I participated in before I was part of this composer collective was they did a partnership with a local art/glass blowing studio. and they asked their composer friends to write a fixed format piece that had glass sounds in it while doing glass blowing demonstrations. And you see like art on display, like glass blown art on display. And I thought that was a really fun evening. I was kind of a little bit of a punk though. In my fixed format piece, I had the sound of glass crashing. And so it kind of freaked them out. They're like, I remember my friend John Sokol was like, "It was you." I'm like, "What did I do?" He's like, every time your piece played and you hear glass smashing, they would turn around and be like, "What broke?" And I'm like, "I'm sorry." Sorry, not sorry. But anyway, so they wanted to, they were wanting to do more of like a distribution model because they're both really good composers themselves. They wanted to do self-publishing. They did not like the traditional publishing model, as I don't like the traditional publishing model. And they wanted to find a way to kind of form a collective and have a group of people that we all got along swimmingly and help each other out and compose their things. So on their end, they could help distribute scores. And in a way, they could also publish Jamie's bassoon multiphonics book, which is really cool. And actually, my institution's library has it. I was like, you kind of need to buy this because someone did all this research on bassoon multiphonics. So if that doesn't drive you crazy, like I kind of give her like lots of props there. So they asked the handful of composer friends that we got along with, and they're like, "All right, so we're gonna try this business model where we're going to help you publish some pieces. We're going to start chamber. We're going to start very small and pick, I think it was like 4 or 5 pieces that you would like Adjective to sell on their website. By the way, we're composers too, so you guys get to keep your own copyright. If you need to make a quick copy for yourself, that's totally fine. And we'll talk about price and we'll figure out a cut and we'll see what happens from there." So that's how I got involved with them. Plus, I'm like really good friends with Jamie and Andrew, and I miss them all the time. And they're also cat people, and I love them. So, you know, they're my friends. I want them to do well. I want their music to do well, and I think all of us in the collective love to support each other. So, another example for that is I decided I couldn't really go to Midwest this year, which I'm totally bummed because then we'd be having this conversation in person. And because, yes, I know, very much sad face. But my friend Evan Williams is part of the collective, and he found an opportunity to to display like wind ensemble pieces by women and minorities. And he's going to be out there not just promoting his own music, which is awesome, but also like others in the collective. Like, so I think Jamie and Andrew, the success for their collective is they found a whole bunch of composers that got along really well and were like the same, like helpful mindset to like support each other and grow.
Yeah. Well, I think Evan is going to be at John Mackey's booth, believe it or not.
Yes, that's exactly it. Yeah. I was like, do I name drop? Yes, he'll be at John Mackey's booth Wednesday and Thursday. I have to look up what time, but like I'll be visiting family in California, so I'll get the time zone correct and start tweeting out stuff like, go say hi to him. Sorry, I can't be there because I'm lame and I suck, but he's a cool guy and he has really cool music. You know, and so we're able to support each other that way, which I think is so necessary and helpful in the 21st century as a composer. You just got to do that.
Yeah, it really is about community. It's about supporting each other and not viewing your peers or other composers necessarily as competition. I mean,
right?
We don't all have the same voice. Mm-mm. Can we talk about self-publishing? Because you had just said you don't like the traditional publishing model, and you're getting a lot of value out of using Adjective New Music as your distribution platform. What is your beef with traditional publishing?
I don't know that they can do as good of a job at this moment in time promoting me as I can promote me. It's basically what it comes down to. Considering that traditional publishers will take half your royalties, and I'm like, more. You know, or more, right? I like earning money from writing music. And I know that we live in a capitalist society. I don't think that that's bad per se. I just think that's just what it is. And I would like to get as much earning potential from doing what I love doing, actually, as possible. So if a publisher were to take at least half of my royalties And I don't know what even the divide is for like rental fees or any of that. But they don't promote me as well, and they can't like be me in a way. Like, I think one of the things that I like about promoting myself and being on social media is that I feel like that is me. I mean, a nicely polished, cooler version of myself, this avatar that is me on social media. But I feel like I'm at this point in time the best representative of my music. And I just don't think that publishers can do as good of a job with promoting me as I can.
You're probably right. And what I've seen, I self-publish also, is my friends who have traditional publishing deals, the publisher might promote the piece for 8 months to a year, and then it kind of falls to the back of the catalog, and Pareto's rule takes over again. Unless you're one of the few that's selling a lot, they don't put any effort into promoting it, and you've given away some of your rights. So sometimes those pieces become orphans, and there's nothing else you can do with it.
I know. You can't even, since you had to like sell off your copyright, you can't even make, let's say, a wind ensemble arrangement or any type of arrangement. You can't do that. And also what I like about the self-publishing model is I know that there are smaller schools out there. Like, part of what I do, since as of late I've been writing a lot of wind ensemble music, is it's educational, right? I want young students to know that they can write music too, and that here's a new piece of music, and then they're going to learn it. But I also am very aware of student budget. So it's like, I tell some people, I'm like, look, we're friends and I understand where you're coming from. You're at a small school. Let me talk to my friends, Jamie and Andrew. They need to get paid first and foremost, but we could probably make a deal. And I don't think that big publishing houses are willing to do that, or if they even do that or even consider it. I think they don't.
Why would they? It's not in their interest. Yeah. And you can't then just print off a score or email a PDF. That would be illegal, even though you wrote the music.
I know. Like, it kills me. Like, I try to explain this to muggles, where I'm like, I have no rights to my own music. Like, I'd rather that happen when I die. And then by the time I die, like, anybody can have my music. I don't care. But until that happens, like, I would like to be able to, like, tweak some things, right? Like, I mean, I don't write perfect music. I'd also, like, if somebody wants an arrangement of something, like, yeah, I would like to be the one doing it. I don't want to have to ask permission. Like, how old am I, right? Like, it's like, hey, can I get my own music back? That's sad. So all of those reasons. Yeah.
Okay. I think that's great. And I think that's really valuable for composers to hear. No matter where you're at in your career, you need to judge the merits of traditional publishing versus self-publishing. And self-publishing has no guarantees. And it takes a lot of work because the burden of promotion and marketing is 100% yours. But you can make more money and you have more freedom.
Yes.
Yeah. Jennifer, this has been so good. And we haven't even really dug directly into networking, though we've kind of circled around it. But I don't want to take too much of your morning. So is there anything else that you really wanted to talk about this morning before we take a break and go for the lightning round?
I can't think of anything else off the top of my head, but what I love about having these conversations is that it is definitely fodder to have future conversations. So I would say that any of you guys out there listening to the podcast, if you meet me in person and you want to continue this conversation, please let's do that. I think it'll be a lot of fun and really insightful.
Absolutely. Well, let's take a break and we'll come back for the lightning round. Hey folks, this is just a gentle reminder about the offer that was made in episode 124 by Jason Heath. If you haven't listened to that episode yet, please go find it and listen to it. Jason is a podcaster and he's a bass player and he's very active online, and he has created an online course called Making an Impact. If you have any questions about how to start your online presence through your website, social media, or anywhere else online in digital form, this course is for you. If you don't know where to begin or you're suffering from overwhelm, this course is for you. And Jason has made a very generous and special offer to the listeners of The Portfolio Composer. If you go to theportfoliocomposer.com/impact, you will be taken to a special affiliate purchase page for Jason's course. Now, the FCC requires me to disclose that this is an affiliate link, and what that means is any courses that are purchased, Jason will share a small portion of the profits. This helps me keep the lights on here at the Portfolio Composer, and it doesn't add anything to your cost. And in fact, if you use coupon code PORTFOLIO, you can receive $10 off the price of the course. So again, go to theportfoliocomposer.com/impact and use coupon code PORTFOLIO for $10 off Jason Heath's course, Making an Impact. And if you want to get more information about what's in the course and who Jason is, go and listen to episode 124 with Jason.
Welcome to the lightning round.
Jennifer, if you could turn back the clock, what advice would you give your 20-year-old self?
So a couple of things. I would probably tell my 20-year-old self to listen to more music, but not just listen to music, to actually like go to the library and check out scores. That would be a thing. Probably still should be a thing. Like, I'm in my 30s and I still think I should listen to more music and check out scores. I feel like some of my students like outdo me, and I'm like, I really should listen to this new Kate Somber piece. Like, what's wrong with me? But anyways, the second thing is that I would tell her to chill out and that she just needs to keep doing what she's doing and not value her self-worth based on competitions. Just breathe and just write music, and that it'll get better.
Yes. Mm-hmm. What is a habit of yours that you feel leads to your success?
So I thought a little bit about this. I think having a good routine in place just makes me happy, and a healthy routine. So even doing things like making sure I exercise because that's good for your brain, and making sure I'm like eating okay because that's also good for your brain. So I'd say routine, but also if there's one thing for success that maybe other people can replicate, it's that just go to concerts. Just go to them. It's not only your job, but it's actually kind of fun, and also meet people at concerts afterwards. And I think that has truly helped me out in my career. And I think it could help out other people too.
Yes. I'm a big believer in morning routines. So I want to ask you what your morning looks like. Do you do the same thing every day?
I do, unless like stuff comes up. But I notice that like when stuff comes up, then I get really cranky. I just probably need more sleep. That's just probably what it comes down to. But my morning routine is I wake up and I feed my cats, and I have like a hot water and lemon because I heard that just helps like wake your system up for the day. And then I do my meditation app, and I give myself 10 minutes. And at first I was like, I should probably meditate more, but I'm like, you know what? This is still a success. I'm still calming myself down as best I can. I've also got this app called the 5-minute journal. I think I heard about it from Tim Ferriss.
Yeah, and I use the 5-minute journal.
Right? And I didn't do it for a while, but I was like, no, I really need this in my life. Like to truly pause and realize what you're thankful for. And like a lot of things, I'm like, I'm just thankful for warmth. I'm thankful I have water right next to me, but it's the small things, and it gives you some kind of perspective, and it's kind of great. So I do that. And then I probably like mess around on my cell phone. I read the news, but I try to squeeze in a workout by 8 o'clock. So I try to wake up at 7, try to do a workout by 8, and then I have coffee, and then it's like emails. But as long as you have a good, solid morning routine, because I think, you agree with me on this one, like it really does set up your day, and it sets you up to be productive or not productive, but at least that you've done something for yourself first and foremost, and something that's healthy and rewarding.
Absolutely. And I know for myself, if I go too long without my routine, and my routine also consists of water first thing and meditation and journaling, life gets harder. And
I know.
I'm grumpier, and I can't be as creative.
Agreed. It's very true. Yeah. Like you need to get that gunk out. There was a time where I did these morning pages. I don't know if you've heard about them.
I have heard of them.
Yeah, 3 pages of long form, which I did think helped with my creativity, but did take a lot of time. But I toy with that idea. In fact, the reason why I found out about the 5-minute journal was like Tim Ferriss either does morning pages or he does 5-minute journal. And I'm like, okay, but the idea that you need to get the gunk out, or you need to have some kind of routine that makes you at ease. It makes, that's comforting and nourishing, because if you're not in a good mood, if you're not in the right place, and I'm not thinking of like the idealistic, romanticized, I have an awesome compositional idea. No, not like that. You just need to be in a good place before you can do anything creative. And that's not just with writing music. Like, creativity is found in everything in your life, whether it's like lesson plans, or like how to clean your house better, or like how can I connect with a friend better. Like, to be a creative, you just need that routine.
Absolutely. Love it.
Mm-hmm.
So you grew up playing piano, but what is an instrument you have always wanted to learn to play, and why?
Okay. So I really like percussion. I've liked percussion for a few years, but I feel like that's a cop-out answer because there are a whole bunch of different percussion instruments. Like they can play anything from like a bass drum to like ocarinas. But I will tell you this, as a composer, I really, for some reason, am drawn to the tam-tam.
Really?
The bass drum. I love it. I'm also really particular about my tam-tam sounds. I once told a student of mine that she needed a tam-tam in her piece because she needed filler, and the tam-tam has that filler, and she needed a low filler. And I'm like, I think the tam-tam's it. But the institution where I work doesn't have a very nice sounding tam-tam. And this is also like another student who didn't have a lot of confidence. She would kind of cock her head to the side when greeting me and my fellow colleagues. She'd be like, "Oh, hi, Dr. Jolley." I'm like, "Hey, you say hi. It's cool, And so she's like, in the same manner, she's like, I don't know if I'll use tam-tam. I'm like, just trust me. This is the worst sounding tam-tam ever. I'm like, I will go to IKEA and find you something that you can bang on that gets you that sound. But for some reason, tam-tam and also bass drum, like these low sounds. And that being said, I just want to be able to get my hands on percussion instruments. I wish that I had that rhythm, kind of that coolness. I don't wish to schlep instruments, so that's probably why I'm not a percussionist. But I also have mad respect for all my percussionist friends. They're just really cool people, and they just do it. They schlep without complaining. Like wheels will fall off the timpani, and they'll like fold the marimba, get it through the doorway, or they'll like unhinge a doorway, and they just do it.
Or they'll carry their 45-pound cymbal bag or whatever it is.
Seriously, and they'll drive the minivan. I'm like, that's a mom van. They're like, no, percussionist. I'm like, that makes so much sense.
Yep.
So I wish I could play percussion instruments.
Love it. This next question is often a challenge for people, but I'm looking for the pieces that took your breath away, that made time stop. Can you name one composition that had a profound impact on you, and why?
Can I name two?
Yes.
Is that cheating?
No.
Okay. So I'll go in order. I remember the first piece that I heard that kind of took my breath away and was like, wow, this is really cool, was when I was a sophomore in college. And the way USC works is they get to study for one composer that year. So like that year, Stephen Hartke took the sophomores, and it was like a meet and greet, and it's a group composition class. They have group composition along with maybe like half-hour private composition lessons. So he's like, well, I should probably tell you a little about myself, and I should play some of my music. And the piece that kind of was like, wow, this is really cool, was his piece Wolf Stand at the Millennium, which I admittedly have not heard in years. And even then he was like, this is kind of an old piece. But I remember looking at one of my composer colleagues, and we looked at each other, and I think we gave each other the look of like, this is such a cool piece of music. And wow, we get to study with this guy. I mean, I haven't officially asked this friend of mine if that's what he was literally thinking, but I think we were both thinking it. I'd like to believe it.
Sure.
The second piece is Stravinsky's Les Noces. There's just something about it with the constellation, probably because I was lots of percussion, but 4 percussionists, 4 pianos, 4 singer soloists and a choir. And I just remember thinking like 20 minutes of my life just went by super quickly. And I was like, that's kind of an amazing thing to do as a composer, to truly manipulate time in that fashion.
Oh, absolutely. And Stravinsky has been named a lot in this question, but not Les Noces.
I love that piece. And I actually, I sang it once. I wasn't part of the USC chamber choir, I think because there were like already lots of sopranos and altos. But Hartke actually talked to the choral director and was like, I think Jennifer would actually like to to crash your choir and sing it. And that was kind of great on his part. So I remember being very lost by the time changes, going like, oh, they're like all the time. This is, it's one of those pieces also performing it is where it's like, it's not only exciting to listen to, but it's like scary exciting to perform because it's kind of all over the place, but makes sense. But it is Stravinsky. And so, I have a soft spot in my heart for that one.
When I was in my final year of my doctorate, I had a short film premiering on the same night as an orchestral concert. And the orchestra was performing Symphonie Fantastique, which is one of my favorites.
Man. Yes.
And I chose to not go to a premiere of one of my own works so that I could play in the symphony so I could play one of my favorite pieces. So that's I completely understand that.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, there's really something about that, right? Where you get to actually perform a piece that you just love that much.
Yes. Yeah.
Good for you. That's a great story. Good for you.
Well, thanks. I'm trying to broaden my listening and to recognize the hard work of people who don't often get recognized. So besides your own music, can you recommend a piece by a minority or female composer that you feel we should all listen to and know?
Yes. Okay. So back to my collective. One thing I actually do like about my collective is I think we're diverse. That's something I'm very proud of because there are different voices and we need diversity in music and other things. And so I'm going to plug my friend Evan Williams because he is a humble, good composer. And he just wants to write music. He doesn't want people to be like, see him as a minority composer, but he writes good music. And the most recent piece of his that I heard was a piece called Dead White Man Music. I kid you not. This is a harpsichord concerto that the Urban Playground Chamber Orchestra premiered and commissioned. And I remember when he was trying to crowdsource it, he's like, you know what? I'm going to write a piece called Dead White Man Music. And you probably should talk to him and tell him like the true genesis of like the title, but also the piece. And so I was like, yeah, I'm going to contribute to this campaign. And the reason why I was able to hear it is because I had a piece of mine being performed in the concert. But to me, I was like, dude, I get to hear the world premiere of a good friend of mine's piece that's called Dead White Man Music, and it's a harpsichord concerto in 3 movements. His second one is the second movement is a Passacaglia, and he kind of like, like a hat tip to Nina Simone. And I think first and foremost, it's a good piece of music, and I hope it's released soon.
Nice. I remember that happening on Facebook, but I have yet to actually listen to it, so I'm going to find it.
Yeah, it's not quite out yet. Like, I think as of now, I have a bootleg recording because I was on that concert, but I think video will be released soon. And just everyone take the time to listen to it. It is a good piece of music. The harpsichordist is awesome. It was great. It was a fun time.
Nice. Can you recommend a book that could benefit the personal, creative, or business lives of the portfolio composer listeners? And it can be fiction. It doesn't have to be about music.
Okay, so mine is actually a piece of nonfiction, but it's an odd choice. And I will have to say that I got this from my friend Jamie Lee Sampson, also in the collective, the co-founder. And she recommends this book to her entrepreneurial class. And it's a book that I come back to repeatedly. And it's called The 48 Rules of Power. And it's written by a guy named Robert Greene. And it's basically this treatise in a way, kind of tongue-in-cheek, where he's like, here's a collection of historical references and stories to how to obtain power. If you follow all 48 rules, there's something that's truly wrong and sick with you, but here they are, So, and I remember she says that she'd constantly read it. She recommended it for her entrepreneurial class. But I was like, okay, but I read it, and it's just like these historical accounts of like power. But at the same time, that's actually very useful as a composer in so much that you have to market yourself.
Yes, you do.
You need to have people see you in a certain way and hear your music in a certain way. Now, I'm not being like everybody should love my music. That ain't happening. I write non-pop music. And as I tell my students, I am not Beyonce. So that is just not happening anytime soon. But you need to kind of curate yourself and have people see yourself as an artist and as a composer. And we all have like different ways in doing that. And so indirectly through this book, you've seen how other people have created their own business, their own persona. So they'll have stories about Barnum and Bailey. They'll have stories about Thomas Edison versus Tesla. So it's fascinating.
Yeah.
It's a fascinating read. After reading this book, which is a very quick read, I was like, now I understand why they're history buffs. It's just like these historical accounts of like what people did, how they got power, won this power battle, how they lost it. It's great. And you could even use it in everyday life, but not all of them, because then you would be, truly
right.
sick person. But,
Yeah, that's one of the most recommended books if you do a Google search for top entrepreneurship books or something like that. Then it comes across a little Machiavellian.
It does. But it's not, though.
It's not.
I mean, yeah.
Yeah, and even The Prince by Machiavelli really isn't how to behave badly. It's more a critique on poorly behaved people.
Correct.
Which is interesting. Anyway, Jennifer, we can read your fail blog at whycompose.com, but where else can we find you on the internets?
So you can find me at jenniferjolley.com. My last name is spelled Jolley, because we never fixed the spelling. I don't know. I'll blame my ancestors there. But I'm also easily found on Facebook and Twitter and all the social media things.
This has been such a joyful conversation for me, and I've been looking forward to this. So thank you for your time and speaking with me.
Oh, thank you. It has been such a joy.